Greetings. Thank you, everybody, for being present. And we're very, very pleased to be graced with syncretist, astrotheologist, astrologer, and brilliant man in general, Santos Bonacci. How are you doing, sir?
Great. Thanks, Philip. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being present and sharing space with me. I love your pink t-shirt and I like your hair. It looks like you're in a good setup. How you doing in the summertime?
Yeah, this is the blowing in the wind on my motorbike hair.
So you're
Yeah,
you're liking the Mars in Aries transit then?
yeah, very much. That is a biggie. It's a good one. It's certainly vitalized me a lot. And of course, Mars is the cerebrum. So when you've got Mars in his Aries cerebrum sign, there are biological things going on. Nervous system highly activated for a start. And probably Mars will provoke a lot of ascension energy, a lot of most probably awakenings in people. It's going to activate the cerebrum, and it loves the iron of Mars and the gold of the sun. The sun exalts there. So that's my sun sign. So I'm happy that Mars is home. It's a good time for all of us. I think it's like when the sun enters Aries on the equinox, when Mars enters Aries, they are both to do with willpower. Mars is mundane willpower and the sun is to do with divine willpower. So they both have that will of beginning something courageous will happen when Mars transits Aries in everyone's life. In the biological, it will affect the cerebrum and the nervous system and the ascension process. But in the cultural house system of the 12 houses, you have to see in what house Mars is in. In my chart, for instance, Mars is in the 12th house right next to Rahu, the North Node. So that's the house of awakening, syncretism, the higher mind.
And your natal chart, so you have Mars in Cancer?
No, in Leo, 5 degrees Leo, whereas my North Node is 27 degrees Cancer, only 7 degrees over.
Cool.
But they are both in the 12th house of the house of illumination, awakenedness, the higher conscious, the subconscious, if you want to call it that, the universal mind, this side of one, the ancestry, the non-linear side of the mind, channeling. So that's, but the thing is though, sorry, I've done something wrong here. I wasn't supposed to be talking about my natal Mars. I was supposed to be talking about my transiting Mars.
Okay, so the transit of Mars in Aries would be in your 9th house, right?
8th house.
8th house. So I won't keep using the whole house sign. I haven't got your personal chart.
Yep, I know.
But
never mind.
Say, before we move on from what you were talking about in that placement, anyway, with regards to having your North Node in Cancer in your 12th house and Mars in Leo, you could say that you're quite at home when it comes down to non-linear thinking. You're quite at home in the ethereal world and exploring yourself in those ways, because obviously this is why we're talking now, right? It's your expertise. And so talking about the transit of Mars in your 9th, though, while we're there.
Yeah, well, I'd like to talk about it in my Placidus 8th house.
8th house, excuse me, yes.
Yeah, because it's more on the 7th cusp, just entering the 8th house. So it really is on both systems. It is actually in the 8th house. I'm thinking. You can correct me on that, but never mind. The point is, I see that as very healing. The 8th house is the Ophiuchus house, Scorpio, regeneration, transformation. So healing is the theme of Ophiuchus. They're the middle deacon of Scorpio and the serpent Kundalini energy. So again, Mars is in both of the bottom of the Kundalini Scorpio transiting, but it's at the top in the 12th house. You could say more to do with the higher mind. Of course it is not lower mind at all. That's the 3rd house.
So, for instance, this is a good example of the transit. You could do a very good presentation on raising of the chrism right now, and that's what your expertise in anyway, but this is the ideal time for you to do it because it's teaching about the occult 8th house stuff and actually the rising of it, of Mars rousing such inspired movements and getting them started right now.
Exactly. So that very energized and essentially dignified Mars in my 8th house is very significant right now, healing. I've been doing a lot of
this into a context so we can make a good point. So really what you're talking about with Mars transits in Aries is it's really the I am, it is the Christ, it is we're really getting into the as you say, the cerebellum, and this is all connected to the Kundalini and the whole journey of raising the seed back up to the 12th ventricle, right, is what you say.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically in doing that, we're coming into our immunity and into our healing. We're coming into our spiritual awareness. And so if Mars is there activating this, and we are always advocating for this, and we're seeing revolutionary acts with regards to our healing, our consciousness within the movements of the banking system, the education system, even within the suppression of certain minorities and certain things like this through patriarchal manifestations, we're seeing that this is a very revolutionary time. And also with Chiron being right next to Mars in the transit now, sextile Venus, we're really seeing the manifestation of this come in as we record.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we could even see that actually we're coming into awareness through us having put in our bodies of work, certainly you for much longer than I, with regards to these sacred holy teachings, which we're oh so passionate about.
Yep.
Everybody's contributing. Many of the people watching this will be in schools of thought of their own. They may be yogis, they may be holistic healers or therapists, but this is us actually moving into what will be the great conjunction this winter, because we are the alternative. We're the natives that create the alter by being the change. So I feel like we're midwifing this in as we bring in our conversation about Cancer. We're birthing this in a very maternal, loving, conscious kind of advocating for the subtle spiritual energy kind of way, rather than the patriarchal domineering way.
Yep.
So for instance, example, and I'm going to pass it back to you, is it's so easy to fall into old ways just by dictational talking, like the way one teaches, is a kind of construction which is malefic and martial and Saturnian, which is more kind of patriarchal. And so for me now, I'm really practicing how I'm using my words so I can pronounce and express more softly as we move into a more feminine kind of equilibrium with regards to how we interact.
For sure. Cancer. So that brings us to the theme of Cancer.
Well, I'm so grateful because we're in Cancer season and we've been going through each of the zodiac signs. And so it was great to touch on the transit. But now, as we come into the breast of the matter, thank you very much, Santos, for giving us this expose on the archetype of Cancer.
Yep.
Which rules the breasts.
Sorry?
Which rules the breasts and our emotions. How we get things off our chest. Hey, I've been suppressed. I haven't had a voice. This kind of thing.
Yeah. So Cancer being the 4th house is foundation, the home, roots, security, land investments, property, economy, family, ancestry. So it's one of the biggies. It's opposite the 10th, which is all the public distinctions and recognition and the career, etc. So it's also that axis there is all about ancestral roots, and so that's why July the 4th is such a significant festivity about the founding of the great land and our forefathers, what they bequeathed us. Of course, really, they're alluding to the mother in Cancer because they celebrated on July the 4th, which is, incidentally, July 4th is Aphelion Day, or Apohelion in Greek, which means the day in which the sun is furthest away from the earth. So that happens 2 weeks after the summer solstice. And then 2 weeks after the winter solstice, January 4, is perihelion. And in the Tropic of Cancer, the sun is closer to the earth. Cancer, further away from the earth, July 4. So that date is very significant, and it happens because the sun is conjunct Sirius. And that is the dog star, which is very, very connected with Cancer, and the star on top of the Christmas tree, in which the sun on the 25th of December in Capricorn must climbs up to Jerusalem to the Star of David, which is Sirius, which is in Cancer. And on July 4th, since the sun is closer to Sirius than it will ever be on any other day throughout the year, Cancer, our mother who art in heaven, is what's happening is, this is called the marriage of the Lamb. Because the Lamb, Mars, exalts in Capricorn and must climb through Aries up to Cancer to be married in the sign called Pergamos. Pergamos. Gamos means, you'll find marriage. It means marriage. And you'll find it in the words polygamy, gamos, monogamous. So Pergamos is where the wedding feast of Cana is another way of saying Cancer, just throw in a C. And this is where Jesus begins to turn the water into wine, because that's the season where now the grapes are starting to shape form. So all that watering now is starting to show the wine, which will be in the wine press of Libra, Tishri. But now we are in the sign of Tammuz. Interesting that Cancer should be called Tammuz in the Jewish system. And of course, the unfaithful women of Israel who were bowing down to the idol of Tammuz, the cross, the letter T, and who were desecrating God's temple. And this would happen, of course, always in Cancer, in Tammuz. And the reason being is because when the sun hits Cancer on the 21st of June, the solstice, it has to wane. And that's why on the 24th of June, exactly opposite 25th of December, Jesus' birthday, the little goat who has to climb up to Cancer, well, lo and behold, it's the birthday of St. John. What? So directly opposite 25th of December, Jesus, his 6-month-old cousin, John the Baptist, is born on the first day of, is born in Cancer, and in the first degree or the day of the sun waning. It has to now go down to Capricorn. And so this is why John the Baptist says, he will go on increasing, I will go on decreasing, because it's talking about the two solstices. And Cancer is the waning one. That's why the Islamists like to celebrate Ramadan on the waning side of the sun. And it is focused on the sign of Cancer, the sign of Tammuz, the sign of fasting and Ramadan and mourning for the waning sun, Tammuz. And funny about this, opposite Tammuz, Cancer, on the opposite solstice, 21st of December, that happens to be called St. Thomas's Day. Yeah, because The solstices, up and down, and the equinoxes, horizontal, they make the cross. And Cancer and Capricorn are the up and down ones, just to keep this really, really simple for naysayers. And this is the T of Tammuz. Tammuz is the sun. That's why the Book of Hermes says the name of the sun is Thomas. Well, that's to do with the sun when it's being married with Sirius in a conjunction, conjugal, in Cancer. And so you've got the month of Tammuz, starting on the 21st of June. Opposite, you've got the day of St. Thomas. And then lo and behold, on the 3rd of July, one day before the great aphelion, 4th of July, our motherland Cancer, we are born, we have the feast of St. John the Baptist on the 3rd of July. The feast of St. Thomas. So just so we get this really clear, the 3rd of July is the feast of St. Thomas in the sign of Tammuz, Cancer, obviously. And opposite the solstice of Cancer, the 21st of December, is the day of St. Thomas. And Hermes, the Book of Hermes, tells you that the two names of the sun, one being Oarges, the other being Thomas. Well, Oarges is Oyanis, Joannes, John the Baptizer of January, Januaris, John the Baptizer. Hence, January used to be called the baptism in ancient Rome, the baptism month, the month of Aquarius. So what you've got here is all these Thomases and all these Johns, because Thomas is Jesus and he is born at the day of St. Thomas solstice on the 25th of December, 4 days after, and he must go on increasing, waxing all the way up to Cancer, the little goat, the little kid, Jesus. And so this is all about the two roots of Christianity. You know, you'll have all these Freemasons that they either belong to the school of St. John the Baptist or to the school of Jesus. Because some of them belong to the waxing school, others to the waning school. It's like in Egypt. It was either Isis or Nephthys, the waxing moon or the waning moon. Which one did you worship? Well, that depends on whether you had a waning moon in your chart. So my goddess is Nephthys because I have a balsamic waning moon in my chart. So this is how...
knowing our chart, knowing our own individual chart, it will kind of be like, okay, well, this shows our spiritual allegiance to the sky, if you will. And it's okay that there's going to be polarities, correct? You just explained that actually there's a school of thought with regards to your own natal chart and how it applies to the calendar and how it works mechanically. Is this what you're saying? Yeah, I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful. So can I share a couple of things? And one of the things, I know you're going deep and I really love it and I want to honor it. I just want to share some of the things that I think is really great of what you've already said. And so here is the sine wave, correct? And here is Aries, where the sun would come into its exaltation, like we were speaking about at the beginning, where Mars is now. And so the sun coming into Cancer at the top is where it gets crucified. And it is correct, where the crown of thorns will become less than, the rays of the days of the light will become less than. And so actually you started by saying that the wine will become bleeding down, because actually the wine is the consciousness as we go through the waning cycle all the way through now until winter solstice. However, we can harvest that wine once we get to the equinox point in the Libra, correct?
Correct. At the middle of the wave, where it goes down into the winter. Here. Right. So there is also a deacon of Libra is the victim, the Southern Cross. And that is where there is another crucifixion. And on top of that is Virgo, and that's Mary the Virgin. Hence her symbol is a Mary, M-Y. And that's, yes, that 30-degree segment there before the sun goes down to the fall at where your cross point is on the 23rd of September, that is the crucifixion of the victim. That's where Jesus sits on his table with 6 apostles to his right, Aries through Virgo, and 6 on his left, Libra through Pisces. And hence you'll see that Libra just below that cross you put there.
This is, I have to speak because it's showing your screen when you speak. So I just have to speak for a moment. So this is the segment. It's the Last Supper here. But go on, Santos.
Okay, put your screen on and point to where I'm talking. Make sure your screen's up.
I'm not sure how I do that without talking.
Oh, okay, got you.
But it's okay. You're a beautiful man. We like to see you talk, and so that's why we've got you here. I just wanted to share that, and I love the way that you shared also about the Feast of Thomas, which would happen just before that, and the fixed stars which you brought in, Sirius being up here on the 4th of July, which would be 14 degrees of Cancer, and how you locked that in directly with the opposite polarity. You're doing a great job, Santos. I didn't want to take too much of the time. May you continue, please.
No, that's good. Those are good contributions because you know the subject so well. So it's handy to put those in and show that graph, because that sine wave is the one that Walter Russell said, if you want to know the secret of the universe, it's in the wave. And the wave represents one vibration of any element or any phenomena, sound, light, thoughts, emotion waves. They all do this. They all start at Aries. They all finish in Pisces. And every wave does this. And to understand the complete gamut of frequencies, the 12 disciples of Jesus along every wave, to understand their conditions and their frequencies and how they interact with phenomena, is how to understand and get down to understanding the science of magnetism so we can have free energy for the world. Because any toroidal field, any magnetic field must be measured in its whole cyclical 12ness. It's all about the number 12. The number 12 is how to measure the universe.
So it's the astrologos.
Yes, of course. Every wave is 12 conditions of one quantum of its expression.
So with regards to Cancer, it's a water element and it's a magnetic quality. And so we're really talking, as you say, about energy waves and how actually when we have an emotion, it's often triggered by a thought, i.e., I feel like I'm not being represented. That's a story. Best like how in our last video, we spoke about how every song starts at Aries and it's got the different parts to the song, as does each thought, as does each perpetual emotion, which we might experience day in, day out. And so when we actually do consider our feelings, which haven't been celebrated in a patriarchal system, when we actually give ourselves a moment to feel, then we can actually see that we are able to dissolve and feel into the wave. That's how the wave gets rewritten, by feeling it, by actually liquidizing it. Even sometimes crying and getting emotional can alleviate us, because as you say, Santos, it's about the salvation and drawing from that inner space in our chest. And we need a safe person sometimes to help get things off our chest. You're drinking a beautiful watermelon, Santos. Can you present that to the audience?
It's coconut.
Coconut, excuse me. That looks luxurious. I bet that's nurturing to you, right?
Yeah, this is the most hydrating liquid and it's got all the minerals in it. I have a couple every day. So Cancer is also where Sirius is, and she's always on top of the Christmas tree, because on Christmas Day, the sun must climb around that tree and go up to the Tropic of Cancer. It's in the shape of a TP tree. The sun ramps up from Capricorn up to Cancer. And so Cancer is all about the arc. In Freemasonry, it is the chief cornerstone, because the signs go from, in the arch, they go from Aries to Libra, and Cancer is in the middle. So It is the stone that the builders rejected. Cancer is where the asterism of the two donkeys are, Asinellus borealis, Asinellus australis. They are the two donkeys that the son, Thomas, climbs up to reach and enter Jerusalem. This is why the gospel speaks of Jesus coming into Jerusalem mounted on an ass and a donkey. Well, how can that be? How can you be riding two donkeys? It doesn't make sense. Well, that's because those are the asterisms. And this is why there's always a donkey or a goat in the manger, because Cancer is also has an asterism called the manger or the beehive. And Samson, the son, actually ate from the beehive and killed the lion next door, Leo, as he went through, the sun goes through the 30 degrees of July, August, Leo. So, as well, there is another deacon called Argus. Argus is Arcus, the ark, Noah's ark. Noah is the sun. Of course, they are all the sun. And that is the Arch of Noah, or the Ark of Noah. And in there is Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. Hence, as the sun begins to wane in Cancer, you have the bear market. And everything declines from Cancer to Libra, where the stock market crashes happen because of these two bears and their effect, their waning effect on the year as soon as the sun hits the 21st of June. So these bears, Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, in Egypt, ancient Egypt, this was the bARC of Ra. The bARC is the bark of Noah, the Ark of Noah. bARC is an anagram for car, the car of Ra, the Ark of Noah, the Ark of Moses. This is the arc of electrical arc. As it peaks when it gets to the wave amplitude Cancer at the solstice and the wave amplitude Capricorn at the solstice. Hence you have a crabby crab and a capricious goat. Why? Because these feminine signs are expanding time-space to give wave amplitude. You see, Aries and Libra give wave length. They are the horizontal members, the equinoctial rulers. Cancer and Capricorn, they are the right-hand rule in electromagnetism. They are the perpendicular transverse energy which creates time and space. Hence, Thomas is all about time, the god of time, Kronos, or the sun, the ruler of the year.
If you're within a realm, if you're within self, then you're experiencing within self. If you're within this space where we experience life, you do need length and depth, because that, well, what did you call it? What were the two words? The Aries and Libra are
wavelength,
and Cancer and Capricorn are
wave amplitude.
And that gives us an opportunity to manifest into these bodies where we as spirits manifest the physical reality that gives us the qualities and the airs and the graces that only a spirit incarnated into a physical Christ suit, which is the human body, can experience. It's where we can actually air out some of our grievances. They say air out because this thing's alive. It's lived. We live it live. We experience ourselves right here now. And it's when we catch ourselves and respond now, which is more feminine, rather than react, which is more masculine, then we actually get to rewrite some of the old stories and we get to actually recreate things, because this is a recreational experience, not a reaction, I need to be right experience. It's a, hey, I've maybe have been doing things wrong over and over and over again, and this is an opportunity to alter the experience.
Yeah. So Cancer is also, those are good points too, by the way. They're very, very good about responding and reacting.
Thank
so,
you.
Yeah, Cancer would be more responding sign. So Cancer is also the portal of men, the solstice of Cancer. The solstice of Capricorn is the portal of the gods. So the moon now, the sun is in the realm of the, is in the, the space, you could say, of the moon when it's in the Tropic of Cancer. So it's a good place for souls. Souls pour in when the
And also,
sun is...
Jupiter is exalted in Cancer as well, isn't it? So,
Yep, exactly. Jupiter Jesus, Jupiter Zeus, Jesus. So souls come in. In fact, that's when my soul came in. I was conceived on St. John's the Baptist Day, 24th of June, because I was born on the 24th of March. If we're going to just be, accurate to the day, but I'm not sure. I could have been conceived some other time in Cancer, but it would make sense. I was conceived at 9 months. So
I'd have been conceived on your birthday.
Right. So the gateway of men is Cancer. And so as the dream of Scipio, interpreted by Macrobius of the 4th century Neoplatonist, he was taught, and Scipio was taught, about the oracle of the cave, or the nymph, the cave of the nymphs. And these are the two caves. You see, when Jesus is born in a cave, that's Capricorn. It's one of the caves. In a manger, or a cave, or a hole, or, it's these portals. And Capricorn is where Saturn rules. And of course, it is said that we leave through the rings of Saturn. We leave the realms of incarnation, all mankind. So Cancer has this stature as well, in that she is the generator, the waters of the mother, where souls come in through the circle of the moon in Cancer, and the circle of Saturn is in Capricorn, at the closest, where the sun is closest to the earth. So
would you suggest that maybe that obviously how we represent Capricorn is that it's most attached to the physical state, because the sun is so close to the earth? It's that people who are actually most mesmerized by the physical manifestation will be those with a predominance of Capricorn energy. And no offense, Capricorn peeps, as we have seen, I have got some Capricorn energy. We all do.
That's right. So when you see that the sun is going clockwise over the earth at Cancer like this, very high, hence the 24-hour days in the Nordic region, and then it comes down to the Tropic of Cancer and does bigger circles, but is closer. This is the realm of Saturn at Capricorn. And then as it goes back up to Cancer, that's the moon. And the moon is the spiritual sister of the earth. So she does indicate heaven. And then next door is the sun, and he is our Father who art in heaven, whereas the moon is our Mother who art in heaven. So all of this is all about how nature works, how the cosmos works, and how the wave works, the electromagnetic wave.
So while we just talk about that cosmology just for a moment, and then we get back into the Cancer. And so with regards to this ramp, or right ascension of meridian, with regards to the sun being closest to the earth when it's in the tropic of Capricorn, and as it moves to the sun to these months now where it's in the Tropic of Cancer, it's actually at a higher point within its cycle. It's not as close to the earth. It's more pivotal. It might be. It's been on a pivot. It's on a pivot, and so this can be seen through the archetype of how these signs play out. And you say that also. I like the way that the right hand of meridian is obviously Ram, as you said in our Aries special.
Right ascension of meridian.
Right ascension of meridian. That's correct. Yes. And so, with regards to it being in the moon sign, and it actually being the 12th house of the sun, it's the sun's turnaround where it starts going back to Capricorn, where it just come from. So it's got to its point where it has to start going back. It's waning, as you say. It's crucified at the top of the mount, at what was at the top of its pivot in Cancer, and it goes back down to Capricorn. So yeah, the point I wanted to make was that actually the sun is the star of the show, isn't it? And so it's going back and forth, up and down every single year, with the expression of its diameter of its cycle getting more centralized and then wider expanse with regards to the cycle. But all of the other wandering stars that transit, they're transiting around the sun as it goes closer to Cancer, as it goes closer back to Capricorn, as it goes closer to Cancer, closer back to Capricorn. So all of the other ones, they're transiting around the sun, which is the star of the show. I mean, I just wanted to make this point clear for people watching, because I love cosmology. It's actually what cosmology drew me to learning astrology. And so you're such a good teacher of it, Santos, that I've actually grasped this. And I'm so grateful. And I do hope that the way that I express it is complimentary and help other people as well. How do you feel? Was it a good expression?
Yep. Those are really good. Very, very accurate.
Thank you.
There's only one science, so you can't muck it up. There's only one music and many genres. You can't muck it up. You know, I mean, you can be a poor musician, but that does not degrade music. Or you can execute your music very well and give honor to music. But music doesn't need your representation. It doesn't need, it doesn't fail if you fail in your performance. And so this science, it's infallible, and we are the ones learning it. As long as we understand that the universe has its laws, they are electromagnetic laws, and it doesn't disobey them, and it's all it can do. It's like the computer. When I hit the reboot button, it's set up to, within minutes, I've got something on my screen and I can go in and grab my files and I can browse on the net. It doesn't, if I'm good at using it, I'll get a lot out of it. If I'm not, I'll be punching away and getting frustrated. But you have to know the system. You know, you can have many applications on there, but it's all, if you've got a Mac like I have, well, then it's going to operate like a Mac does. And so this science, it's so sacred and holy that it's hiding everywhere. It's hiding in Christianity. They are the keepers and caretakers of astrology, whether they know it or not. It's in Hinduism. It's here in Mexico with the Toltecs, or the Tonalika teaching that I'm learning here. It's everywhere. And it's all the same. And it's the science of the wave, the electromagnetic wave.
And it's been suppressed for a reason, because it's truly empowering for us as individuals, spiritually knowing this organic science. And for us to be able to then know it, we can come up with alternatives than the ones that have been thrusted to us as our savior, as our protection, as our support system. We have actually got the opportunity to create alternatives to that. I want to ask you some direct questions about things before it fall by the wayside, and then also then get back into some Cancer things where we've got the opportunity to connect. And so you mentioned about how you have your moon in Pisces, right? And so how you act in accordance to the sky is different. Can you spend a couple of minutes explaining about how we can learn about our placements and act into the accordance of honouring the particular, in a sense, spiritual connection that we have with our sky?
Well, the human being is quite a complicated but simple phenomena.
The last bit I could have left out. For instance, would be that some of us would be a sect, whether we're nocturnal or diurnal, like a day chart or a night chart, or we could have Venus as a morning star or an evening star, or somewhere in between. And these are the accounts that put us in one way of celebrating ourselves and these energies or another. Or can you celebrate them all, like each one of them are a holiday and a phase that we learn and grow through?
Well, it's a holistic science, so you're never going to be excluding any of the archetypes. You're not going to be excluding any knowledge or any service to the electromagnetical universe. which is God, you're always going to be devoted to it because it's the only phenomena that exists. Nothing else is happening. There is only electromagnetic waves all over the place. Magnetic waves are radiation, electrical waves are vibration. Radiation and vibration, that's all you get. It's a sound and light show, sonoluminescence.
When we come up with those crazy realities like daydreams and think about other universes with different types of aliens and things like that, all of the things that we can imagine, they are possible eventualities, but actually this is the central university where we learn. It's like nursery school, it's Earth. So we have to come back to the center as spirits to learn about all of the different things that can manifest in this reality. As you say, it's all waves and electricity, but that is the continuum which can create anything that you can fathom. Correct?
Yep. And they are thought waves. The universe is made up of mathematical thought waves.
So we're the gardeners and the caretakers of this space, and we come back to the middle of it because we love mastering and taking care of how conscious stars are seeded. We're, in a sense, taking care of all the stars that are seeded, which become ideas, that become eventualities, that become universes. We come back to the central space, which actually the most central of spaces is the least celebrated, where the bears are, where the chests are, where our mothers are in Cancer, right? The moon isn't even celebrated because the sun's put first in Western tropical astrology.
Yeah, well, it is. It's just that most people don't realize it. I do. The moon is the most important thing for my astrology. But Cancer is all about the emotional construct. Aries is the mental, mathematical thought wave universe, and then that engenders the Cancerian emotional, electrical emotion wave universe. And those are the two bodies that make the soul, the two biggest components that make the soul. So Cancer being the chest and the moon would have to do with the reflective soul of the individual. So it is a mental, mathematical thought wave universe, but it is an emotional, letter-based wave universe. When I say letter-based, is because the emotions are letters and the thoughts are numbers, and they mix together, Adam and Eve. Adam is the mental body in you, and Eve is the emotional body in you, and they work together. And so, where was I going with that? I had something that I was going to get to. So,
the length and the depth is what.
Okay, yeah, okay. So the thoughts come from pulses, magnetic pulses, radiation, and then they mix with the emotional world, the vibratory wave, and they are the qualities, right? So the mental form creates the quantities, and then immediately it is mixed with the qualities, the numbers and letters universe that we live in, emotional, mental and emotional.
So for instance, if I has a bit, I want to do the thing. What thing is it I want to go do? I want to do Philip Daniel Miles. And to do that, you can't experience the qualities of what it is to be me until I come into space and time. Because I'm just an analytical thought, but I need to come in to manifestation, into the embodiment to be me. And you, to do you, Santos, and you're doing a fantastic job at it. And so we get to air out our stories through the aromatic quality of Earth. I see that, which is space and time. And to do that, you have to come into depth, which is really emotional.
Yep. Yes, that's where the marriage feast of Cana happens, which is the first miracle of Jesus. So what is that miracle? Well, the sun must pass that portal of June the 21st and enter Cancer or Cana to bring the frequency that will turn water into wine, because now the summer has begun. And the sun in Leo needs to roar through the dog days to be able to get those fruits to ripen. So that's how the sun now turns water into wine, or pour wine into good wine. But I think it's water into wine.
So you're kind of going to say that actually the wine now is really the dirt cheap wine, but when the sun gets beat into that fixed energy, when it beats it all day in the fixed sign of Leo, we're going to be singing about Michael Jackson, Beat It, because that's really about the sun being in Leo, isn't it, in a sense? He's a Leo. Mm-hmm. And so when we're bleeding out all of our enthusiasm, it's already because we've processed the sun's transit through our chest. We've already been through the emotional display, and now we're getting creative with that which moved us.
Yeah, so another thing in the Bible, in one of the 7 letters to the 7 congregations, the letter to Pergamum, which is Pergamos, gamos meaning marriage, and Cancer, the best sign for marriages to happen, June, July, because they will be blessed by the mother. It says here, to the angel of the church in Pergamum, the one who has the sharp double-edged sword. That double-edged sword is the solstice, because it divides the year between waxing and waning. I know where you live, where Satan's throne is. Yes, Satan's throne is in Cancer, because this is where the head of the Hydra is. Hydra. And the throne of Satan, of course, is the North Pole, and Cancer is the closest to the North Pole, where Cephas is standing on the throne. And this is referred to as Satan. And you are holding on to my name and did not deny your faith in me, even in the days of Antipas, my faithful witness, who was killed among you where Satan lives. I have a few things against you. You have some there who hold to the teaching of Balaam, who taught Balak to place a stumbling block in front of the Israelites, to eat meat sacrificed to idols and to commit sexual immorality. In the same way, you also have those who hold to the teaching of Nicolaitans. Therefore repent, otherwise I will come to you quickly and fight against them with the sword of my mouth. So that's the sword of the equinoxes, and it talks about the teachings of Balaam. Balaam has to do with Cancer, and Tammuz, Baal and Tammuz. That's the teachings of Baal and the teachings of the waning cycle of the sun. You see, this is why the other half of the sun, the waxing sun, is jealous. And he's going to curse these people in Pergamos because they are from the John the Baptist school of waning, you see. It's a different school. It's a different energy. And so sexual immorality is there as well because of the promiscuous energy of water, the sexual fluids is another. Wine and sex and wine. So, marriage festivals, wining and dining, turning water into wine, and all of those very house-confined things, because Cancer is all about the home, right? So it's all about what you do at home. You eat and drink, you sleep, you do all of your personal stuff. And so it's going to be dealing with that as well. Cancer.
So we could really get into our sensitivities with regards to nipples being a part of the body, which is with regards to this, and they are very. We can get stimulated and tuned in to our nipples. Like there's a joke, isn't there, that if you touch a lady's nipple, you can tune the radio on it. But really, they're just as sensitive for men as well. They're like poles because they are poles for us to tune in to our moment. We can actually nurture ourselves in a sense, but it's equally so not just for physical stimulation, as it is for emotional support as well. And so when we get into the flow, when we really get to alleviate and bring ourselves into comfort and ease, which has been something I've been focusing on, after especially all this dramatic year, we want to have a little comfort and ease. So we're seeing that we're birthing into this now. We're laboring in like a nurse. Like nurses are this energy as well of Cancer, the nurse, the mother, the matriarchal system. And so how can we see some of this in the rhymes which you're so good at with regards to the moon and the sign of Cancer? Have you got any examples for us with regards to nursery rhymes and how they relate to the moon? I know that there's that one where the spoon run away with the moon.
Yeah, there's Jack and Jill being the sun and the moon. They climbed up the hill, that would be Cancer. And to fetch a pail of water, of course, the waters of Cancer, of summer. And then Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill come tumbling after. Well, the crown is the corona of the sun. And in Capricorn, he falls down the hill, because even Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, tells us that the sun is going up the ramp to the Tropic of Cancer and down the ramp to the Tropic of Capricorn every year, up and down the Christmas tree, as it goes round and round, up and down, like a coil, like a vortex, because everything's vortexes.
I mean, it is exactly like a coil, isn't it?
It's a coil. Everything's coiling.
And so it's just a mimic. Like the technology that we create is just a mimic of that which is nature.
Yeah, because the energy's in the air or the ether. And so we can get it whenever we want. We just need the right equipment. And all you need, you can harvest electricity just with copper coils, copper windings. Just make your own motors. You can have them all over the place. Copper, silver, and just make motors, and you can have all kinds of free energy.
I feel that this year is very revolutionary, and that we just had the eclipse in Cancer, which we spoke about last time. We're moving into a second new moon in Cancer, which will be opposed Saturn at 28 degrees of Capricorn, where Saturn shall be in its home sign. But the archetype of Saturn has really been having a massive clear out, as we have mentioned the last time, since Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn have all been in Capricorn for 735 years. So by the time that Saturn and Jupiter make it into Aquarius, by the time we have the Great Conjunction, we can have a very revolutionary kind of consciousness with regards to coming together as a collective, bringing form to some of the spiritual attributes that haven't been given the time of day, of that which we're often sharing and talking about. These qualities of Cancer being exactly that. And so we can find that this wine is maturing, and we're learning how to share it in a more creative way. And we're going to harvest that as we continue to connect with one another. But we're going to come up with some opposition, I feel, through this next cycle, with Saturn actually opposing the new moon in Cancer. This is just how I feel about it. What's your synthesis for maybe the next few weeks as we come into this second new moon in a row in the sign of Cancer, Santos?
Well, it's going to be all downhill for the controlling elite. They may get more and more savage, but they're losing their power. So Cancer was the signal of that. Cancer was the point where there was an eclipse on the 21st of June this year, so it was much more significant this year. And so that was the big portal, and from now on it's all downhill to the 21st of December. And we are going to have all the wins we've ever dreamt of, and more.
Exactly.
So
this is like the schools, the secret schools. Actually, they're not going to be a secret. We can have yoga, astrology, healthy eating, and we can all contribute in festivals together, touring this stuff across the world, Santos. You and I actually might meet. That would be fantastic. I'd love to share a buffet of the finest fruit and vegetables, and to have a presentation for loads of brilliant people. That would be exciting to share and connect.
Yes. That's what's going to transpire soon.
Yes, yes, yes. And so it's going to be, we've seen before the likes of, you know, touring festival, music festivals, like the Ozfest. But we can be doing this with our syncretism, with our astrology, with our yoga, with our food, with our health, that kind of touring circuit. And I feel like that's going to be fantastic, not for money gain, but for spiritual empowerment.
Absolutely. Spiritual empowerment is our right. It is our duty. It is our blessing, spiritual empowerment, for each one of us to be fully restored back to our original state with all of our powers is what we are aiming for. And we will use our power for good, of course. The evil ones are the only ones who use their power for evil. We would never even think of it. We just can't get away with it. We would not let ourselves.
So I'm going to attempt this and I'm going to butcher it. So excuse me, everybody. But in the Bhagavad-gita, correct me, Santos, please.
Bhagavad Gita.
The Bhagavad Gita, they would talk about the land of milk and honey. And so in close, we're coming into this spiritual revolutionary time, which is like a golden age, the time of milk and honey. And Cancer rules the Milky Way. Have you got anything that we could just share on the Milky Way as we leave this brilliant video, Santos?
Yep. So she is the Milky Way, and Argus, Noah's Ark, is there where all the twin animals are. There are 2 bears in Cancer. There are 2 twins next door in Gemini. There are 2 dogs in Gemini, Canis Major, Canis Minor. There are 2 donkeys in Cancer, Asinellus Borealis, Asinellus Australis. There's Columbus the dove in Gemini, and then there is the crow or the raven in Leo next door. And those are the 2 birds that Noah sent out of the ark, the dove and the raven. And there they are, asterisms in Leo and Gemini. And then you've got all the twins up there, and Noah herded all the twins into his ark, the holy ark of Cancer, where Argus, Jason and his Argonauts are, his 12 Argonauts, or his 50 with his 12 voyagers, rather, looking for the golden fleece, Aries. So
funny. So the golden fleece is actually 3 signs behind Cancer. It takes 9. It would take the whole time. It would to be, if you were conceiving a baby like you were conceived, for the golden fleece to be received. You could say that you are the golden fleece there, Santos.
Well, I'm going to buy gold, as it says in Revelation 3:18. Buy gold from me so you can become rich. Buy salve for your eyes so you can see. Buy fine white linen from me so you can cover your shameful nudity, nakedness. In other words, by buying fine linen, we clothe ourselves in spirituality, spiritual strength, and have a strong spiritual body. So thank you, Philip, for having me.
Yeah, that's great. The last thing, I know you got to go. So you were conceived and in the womb of the mother for the whole entirety of what was actually, as you say, Noah's Ark. And it takes one to know that wisdom that comes from within you. Were incubated all that time, which is why you, Aries, the lamb, is the golden fleece. It is the new spark. It is the exalted one, if you will. And one last piece, and that is really fantastic. And I've got to make a boob at myself at the end, Santos. And it's very funny though. When I was at school, I played Joseph. I'm a Capricorn. I played Joseph, which is Jesus's dad, the son's dad. But I really fancied the young lady who was playing the donkey. And that's funny because Cancer's the sign opposite me, and you said the donkey was there in Cancer. So I just had to share that. But thank you so much for your time.
Yep, thanks, brother.
I'd like to say, though, I don't normally add this to the video. Your people on your channel are fantastic. If anybody does like and resonate with my energy, you can check me out on Unifying Perspectives YouTube channel. And I appreciate the space. Thank you for holding it as always, Santos. You're a superstar.
Thank you, brother. Take care. Bye-bye.